Describe to us the moment, not only finding it, but, seeing what it looked like.
I mean, it's great to be here with you. It's particularly great because you're crediting me with the whole thing. I'd love to pretend that I did find it. I was just watching them work hard. I was watching archaeologist Menson Bound and his subsea team working around the clock for a month in some of the most hideous conditions on planet Earth. It was minus 35 degrees of wind chill. They were working through the night, all day. They were fixing these unmanned vehicles. They were then sending to 3,000 meters to the seabed through a thick sheet of sea ice. It was brutal working conditions. All I had to do was post the odd picture on Instagram. So I had the easiest job on the ship, let me tell you. But when we discovered it, when the expedition discovered it, it was like a miracle. We could not believe the state of the ship. The wood, there are no wood-eating microorganisms, no little animals that feed on wood like there are elsewhere in the world's oceans. It's too cold. And there's no wood in Antarctica because they have evolved to live down there and on the seabed. So the ship is almost perfectly preserved. You mentioned it sank on the 21st of November 1915. I think it looks much as it did that day when Shackleton saw it sink. He wrote in his diary, "I don't think I can write about it." He was so depressed. And I think he'd been so happy that now that wasn't the end of Endurance. That was just the end of a chapter. And now a whole new chapter can begin.
Yeah, I mean, incredible. A historian's dream, isn't this? It's a once-in-a-lifetime discovery, surely. Talk us through and tell the viewers about it wasn't just the sinking of the ship, but actually Shackleton and his crew's extraordinary escape as well. Can you tell us a bit about that?
You're absolutely right. Although you did say it's once in a lifetime, I'm beginning to think, is this it? Is this as good as it's going to get for me now? There's nothing else. You're making me feel a bit depressed there for a moment. But you're right.
I'm sure you'll have more, Dan. I'm sure you will.
I doubt it, to be honest. It's never going to get better than this. But you're right. What's really amazing about this shipwreck is it connects us all, to the story of Shackleton. It is unbelievable. And for those people who need a bit of a peg, a bit of help getting into history, I think this is going to be that. And it's going to connect us to this story, which is one of the great, most epic survival and escape stories of all time. It was crushed in the ice. It sank. They lived on the ice, floating around the sea ice for another few months. Then they took to small rowing boats. They managed to get across this sea here that I'm now traversing. And they made to Elephant Island, a scrap of land, very, very isolated. Then Shackleton took an elite crew of 6 men from Elephant Island, 800 miles to South Georgia across the Southern Ocean, gigantic storms, hurricane-force winds, absolutely extraordinary. He then walked across South Georgia, the first person to ever do so, hiked across the glaciers.
This discovery. I've got a quote from marine archaeologist Menson Bound, who's also part of the discovery expedition. He says, "Without any exaggeration, this is the finest wooden shipwreck I have ever seen by far." I want to ask you, Dan, then, what next? Will it stay there in order to preserve it, or is there even a possibility of raising it up?
Well, I've just been with Menson Bound, who's the chief archaeologist working on the project. It was his search area. The reason we found it, he identified the search area in the Weddell Sea. And we've both been mainlining coffee to stay awake. Lots of interviews are very exciting. He's been doing this for 30 years. He says he's never seen anything like it. We didn't touch it. We didn't interfere with it. It's a survey mission. We came back with a beautiful millimetre perfect 3D laser scan with incredible super high definition camera footage. And that's all we've done. We've mapped it. It can now be protected and respected and studied in the future. Who knows? In decades' time, they may have the technology to reach down, raise it up and preserve it somewhere for all of humankind. But that's a long way off. But there's certainly no plans to do anything with it in the near term.
Right, and what does this mean for other shipwrecks around the world?
Well, I think what it means is it hopefully will add rocket fuel to people's fascination with what lies beneath our oceans. There's probably more heritage, more treasures on our ocean floor than there are in all the museums of the world combined. So we do have the technology now to see down to those wrecks. And we have a duty to protect them because there are people out there, bad actors who want to sell, who want to loot and desecrate those wrecks. So I think for people like me, we'd love to get down there, get data on the wrecks, broadcast them to the world, help people. I mean, I don't need much help falling in love with history, I've got to say. But for some people, I can understand they need a little bit of, they need to see something, they need to feel something. And I think when you broadcast these images and these laser 3D models, I think it will just engage a whole generation in not just with Shackleton and Antarctic, but with subsea adventure in its entirety.
Dan Snow in Antarctica. Thanks very much indeed. Great to have your enthusiasm as part of the programme today. Thank you.